let's begin by clearing a misconception. Most people say Linux is an operating system. The truth is Linux is a kernel, not an operating system. So as you can see that an operating system consists of kernel, user space utilities, libraries and other different tools. So we can see it by the Ubuntu's example. So hence Linux is the kernel, not an operating system. So all the Linux flavors like Ubuntu, Arch Linux and so on are Linux based or Linux powered operating system. So what is the Linux kernel? So it is the heart of the operating system. It manages from CPU scheduling, memory management, system calls and everything. So as an OS main part. So it acts as the interface between the hardware and the application interface. So it powers everything from the rocket, supercomputers and smartphones and even small gadgets. So it has more than 40 million lines of code, mostly consist of C and architecture specific assembly, and recently Rust has been introduced for the new device driver. So it is also the backbone for the so-called big companies like Meta, Google and so on. So basically it is an open source, so everyone is welcome for the contribution. So let's see how to contribute to the Linux kernel. So first of all, you have to identify the problem. The problem might be some sort of bug or the improvement or hardware enablement. You can use static analyzer tools such as SMATS, Sparse and so on, or you can also use the dynamic analyzer such as sysbot, syscolor, kmemlik and so on to find the different bugs, and you have to fix it, and then you have to create a patch using Git. So patch means a change or so-called Git diff, sort of Git diff, and then you need to follow the kernel coding style. After you create the patch, you have to run the script, check patch poll script, and you have to fix the kernel coding styles, and then you need to write the clear commit message like, so what was the problem and what you did to solve the problem, so what the patch is all about. To submit it, so you don't have to create a pull request, you have to send it to the mailing list. To find the mails of the maintainers and reviewers, you have to run a get maintainers poll script which will give you the mailing list, and you have to send the patch using the git send email. So now be ready for the review cycle, because the Linux kernel community is very brutal and it is based on the meritocracy. It is straightforward. So you have to be very much patient. You have to have very much patience, and persistence are the keys for the successful contributions into the Linux kernel. So while talking about my journey, I graduated from Linux Foundation's kernel mentorship program and contributed a few patches and a patch set into the network device driver. And I also explored different books related to Linux kernel development, device drivers development and debugging the Linux kernel, and explored many different operating systems concepts like synchronizations, blocking IO, wait queues, mmap and so on. So next is backporting into Ubuntu. So backporting simply means taking the fix or the feature from the newer kernel version and applying it to the older kernel version. So why do we need backporting? So we need backporting for the new security fixes or critical bug fixes or selective hardware updates or enablement. So the process is, first of all, you have to identify the upstream commit, and then you need to take the kernel versions from where you are fetching the changes and where you are shipping the changes into. Then you have to apply the patch. So the tool is Git cherry pick. Maybe you have heard about it. And you have to resolve the conflicts after you apply it. And you have to build the kernel, test it, and finally you have to validate and release. So why Ubuntu needs backporting? Because Ubuntu long-term support uses older kernel versions. So we need to ship the latest security fixes, critical bug fixes and device driver updates from the latest kernel to the older kernel. Hence we need backporting for the Ubuntu. So to sum up, so the kernel contributions means continuous learning, persistence, patience, and continuous review and feedback cycle. So I already told that Linux is a kernel, not an operating systems, and backporting keeps Ubuntu and other distros more stable and secure by backporting those security fixes and critical bug fixes. And finally, for the Linux kernel contribution, you should start with small changes like smelling fixes or some other small fixes, and then you can grow into the bigger contributions. So thank you so much. This much for the lightning talk. So thank you everyone.